Soul Food Foodies, we're going to make barbecue in the oven. Hi, I'm Cheryl, and welcome to Grandma Janie's Kitchen. So here we have 2 slabs of ribs. I have this is called the St. Louis style ribs. Okay, and then spare ribs here. Okay, so here are the ribs. We're gonna do some trimming to this. I'm gonna trim some of this fat off of here that you see there. I'm going to trim some of the little additional extra that's on here. Then I'm going to turn it over and I'm going to get this membrane, because there's a membrane here, and that membrane prevents the seasoning from getting all the way through to the ribs. What I've learned is that the best way to do it is to have a paper towel, and then you just grab one of these little edges here, and sometimes it's so much easier to do it with a paper towel, and you get the little edge, and then as you see the edge here, you can see the piece here, that's the membrane. Now it's not the part that's gonna take the bone away from the rib itself, it's just gonna be that fine membrane that's on the back of the ribs. You'll find that on all ribs usually. And so I just get my paper towel. That the dry paper towel helps you to grasp it better. Okay, and so then I'm just going to, and then you see I'm just pulling this. That's basically what I'm doing. But it's easier to do, I can do it with my hands, but it's easier to do if you grab it first, you know, with the paper towel. And so then I'll throw that away, and then I'll do that all the way on the back part of here. And then I can season it. You can do your brine, you can do whatever, and that seasoning is gonna go through better. And so it's a little slippery right now, so I get that paper towel again so that I can grab that edge there. And so then once I get the edge, it's still a bit slippery, then I might be able to pull it better. This is what you have. You have that, and so you can put your seasoning on it and it'll go through and permeate much better than if you had that membrane. It's just hard for something to get through a membrane. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just gonna cut this extra piece off because I just want everything to be smooth and even and uniform, and so that's what I'm going to do. So I'll just start like so, and I'll just get all of that off. And cut through there. And of course I'll cook this as well, but it'll be cooked separately from the regular slab. Just like when you're cooking it in the oven and you want everything to be uniform as far as the heat when you're cooking your ribs, so that everything will be cooked, you know, primarily on the same temperature throughout the whole slab. Okay, all right, so this is what I have here. So I'm gonna season this later. I'll take more of that fat off. Let me just do that now so you'll see what I'm doing. Okay, and so, you know, some people, you know, like to keep the fat on, and if that's you, then by all means, you know, you can keep the fat on, but I try to cut a lot of that additional fat off, especially when you're cooking it in the pan. And you know, the meat has a tendency when it's in the pan, all the grease is just going to the bottom of the pan and the meat is sitting in there. I especially like to take this fat off when I'm putting it in the oven. Okay, so throw that away. And so get all of that off. So let's see what that looks like now. So here's what we have now. This is the additional piece that I just cut off. So this will cook more quickly. So you might want to put this in maybe later at the end when you don't have to have as much cooking time as you would this whole slab. And then you don't have to have the temperature as hot on this, because this is, you know, pretty thin slice of pork here. And okay, just put that there. And so now I have the rest of this fat here. So I'll just go through here and I'll just kind of take some of that off, you know, You just pull that off. And then just as much as you want. I'll come back to that. I'll just get over here and show you what I'm gonna do on the front here. And so we have more fat here, and I'll just go through here and just get most of that fat off there. And so that's what I'll do. Okay, so I'm gonna finish cutting off this fat, and then I'll come back and show you what it looks like when I'm done. Alrighty, so here are the slabs of ribs, and you'll see that I did some trimming and some cutting, and so that's what it looks like here. So I just want it to be more uniform. And then this is the other slab. So I'll put these here, and I'm going to put seasoning on them, and then I'll let them sit in the refrigerator for a while. So what I'm gonna do first though, before I do that, I'm going to show you what I did with the other pieces. Okay? And this is what they will look like on the back side as well. So that's what it looks like on the back side. And all right, and so I did quite a bit of cutting on this one. On this one here, that was a really big wide piece. I did quite a bit of trimming on that one. Okay, so these are all the pieces that I got from the trims. Okay, and I'm gonna cook those separately. So I have these, because this is not gonna need to cook as long as the slabs are, and I don't want them to overcook. So I just put those in there, and I'll season those the same, and then I'll put those in the oven after the slabs get done, or right before they are maybe about 30 minutes out. I'll put these in, and then we'll go from there, and that way they don't have to cook as long. And I'll season them the same. So that's what it looks like. Okay, so now I'm gonna start the seasoning, and before I season, I'm gonna use a mustard base over the entire front and back of the slab. And then once I put the base on, then I'm going to use my regular seasoning. So I'll turn these over like so on their backs, and then I'll just begin to do the mustard. And you can just put on as much as you want, but I make a nice base for my seasonings. So I'll do that, and since I have that membrane off, then this flavor should go through the ribs as well. So I'll just do my base. Like so, and you don't have to be gentle with the mustard or anything. You can just put as much of it on as you want. Mustard on there. And then when I cook them, I'm also going to cook it upside down at first. Okay. All right. I'm just going to use regular salt, pepper, seasoning salt, garlic salt, different things. It's just whatever you want to use. So I'm just going to sprinkle I have the Lowry seasoning salt. There, and then I'll put pepper. I'm pretty liberal with my pepper. I love ribs that taste very good even before you put any sauce on it. So if your ribs taste good without any sauce, then you know you have some dynamite ribs. Okay. All right, and so done there. And I'll put a bit of salt, and as I always do, I don't like to pour salt. I have a sprinkler, but to sprinkle my salt, but when I'm doing a big project, then I just use the box of salt, and that way, and I just like to be able to control it. So I'll say I maybe have a tablespoon here. Garlic powder. Then I have onion powder. Okay. And then I have the cayenne pepper, and again, with that, I just put it in my hand so that I can control it. Because I don't put a lot of it on there. Maybe just if I have that, that's what I have in my hand. I don't even think that's a half of a teaspoon. So just kind of sprinkle it through, and not all over necessarily, but I just disseminate it throughout. Then I'll put some hot sauce. I love hot sauce, so. Put that, even though I have the cayenne, I just do a little bit of the hot sauce. Just a little of it. Oops. Because the heat will cook a lot of that off anyway, so you won't really taste a lot of that. Okay. So. Got that. Turn her over. I usually take my fork, and it's like a heavy duty fork is what I have here, and it's just a regular fork. And then I just go through, and it's just like, kind of like one of those tenderizers where you beat the meat, but of course we have the bones and all of that, so I like to pick and choose where I'm going to put my fork. And so I do that, and that helps to tenderize the meat. So that's what I always do. And I'll do the sides of it as well. And I'm just getting in between, trying not really to hit the bone so much as I am in between and wherever there's fleshy meat. And I'll do that here as well. And again, I'm just getting the meat, trying to get the fleshy part of the meat. I have it done there. It looks like it's good to go. Okay, I have the foil out now, so I'm going to, and I'm going to cook it upside down first, so I'll just go on and turn this upside down. Put that in the middle there. So, and I have enough on each edge so that I can fold it and unfold it as I check it, because I will check it. And this is heavy duty foil I have, so I have Reynolds Wrap, and you can use any brand or generic brand that you want, but I use the heavy duty for this. So I'm going to put this in the fridge. Okay, so here's some liquid smoke, and I forgot to put that on when I was doing the seasoning. I usually use the liquid smoke, especially if I'm going to be cooking it in the oven. And so I don't have that smoked flavor that I would get on the grill, so I just use liquid smoke. And I'll just put some over, and not a whole lot of it, but just a bit of it. And then I'll close it back, and that's part of the key to cooking your barbecue in the oven, is using the liquid smoke. Alrighty, this It's in the oven on 350 for about an hour and a half, and it's pretty tender, pretty tender. So, and that's just on that one side there. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to flip it over so that I can put it in the oven again and then let it get the actual brown and start browning so it can actually look like the barbecue that you'd see on the grill. So now I've turned it over, and so this is what it looks like on the top, and this is very tender. These are the 2 trimmed slabs of rib, so they are ready to go into the oven again just to get browned a bit. And I'm gonna use this fork here, and I want you to see just, if you can tell, just how tender it is. It's just really, the fork just goes into the flesh so easily. All right, so now we are ready to put these in the oven. Once they brown some, then I'll come back and show you what they look like. Okay, so now I'm going to put the barbecue sauce on the ribs. I've already cut the rack in half. Now I'm gonna go between the 2 rib bones here, and I'm just gonna slice it. And then once I slice it, I'm going to put it to the side, and then I'll do another 2. And then here I'll have, 1 bone left over. Right, and turn it over so I can see that. So I'll do it, 1 bone, 2 bone, right in between the second bone. And 1 bone, 2 bone, right there between the second bone. And so that's how I do it. You can do it however you choose. Some people do it at every bone and cut it. And so of course, with that being the case, then it spreads further, and then you can serve more people with it. All right, so then I'll do it again, 1, 2, and then I'll just slice that like so. And then it's so tender that it slices so easily. Okay, so now it's ready for me to dip. Okay, I'm going to dip these as well. Okay. To sit it in the oven and let the barbecue sauce adhere to the ribs, and then I'll show you what it looks like afterwards. After allowing the barbecue sauce to cook on the meat for about 30 minutes on 350 degrees, I then put the meat back into the oven. I turned the oven on to broil, and I did this only for about 5 minutes so that the barbecue sauce could get that glaze. And I put it in the oven. I let it broil for about 5 minutes, turned it around to the other side, and let it broil for maybe about 2 to 3 more minutes. And that's where the glazed look comes from. The broil setting was 450 degrees. And barbecue in the oven basically are for those people who don't have a grill, who are in an apartment probably, who don't have the time, or want barbecue and it's raining and so you can't get outside and cook it, or it's really, really cold and you don't want to be outside barbecuing. So barbecuing in the oven is another alternative for you. So